I have played sessions for 10 hours on a film of a friend of mine who needed to get his film done. I had pneumonia. I'm coughing up blood, and I am playing the session. I've had 104 temperature, showed up on time, played my session, then went to the doctor.
Hey everybody, welcome back. Thank you so much for tuning in to Words of Fang at the Between the Waves Music Conference, btwmadison.com. If you're watching this, you missed it, but you can check it out next year. It's in June. And if you want to see all of our uncut interviews, unfiltered, complete mainline into the knowledge, just drop $1 on our Patreon, patreon.com/Lords of the Trident, and we will bring you all of the interviews coming out. At the Between the Waves Conference and Festival, there are some incredible speakers, and I gotta tell you, this is a big one. We are sitting down with the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Michael Boddicker. How are you doing?
Well, Ty, thank you for that intro.
Yeah. So for the people who are, I'm familiar, but for the people who are not familiar with Michael Boddicker, let us know what you're all about. Let us know your rap sheet, if you will.
Oh, goodness, you want me to do my own promo here. Okay.
No one says it better.
Came to Los Angeles as a songwriter and short film composer, and in the early '70s, and that was like the beginning of the acceptance of electronic music in pop records, and had a lot of success writing films, songs for films. Advertising, playing on a lot of records. I played on something like 760 albums.
Wow.
So that, if you look at, there's 10 songs on an album, which sometimes I didn't play on all 10, but many times I did. There's a lot of records that I played on.
Yeah.
And a lot of film scores. Was blessed to be that guy who was the liaison between this person who is essentially a classically trained composer and the synthesizer. I got to be that guy who interpreted. They were going, I'd like this, and sometimes they'd just write a squiggly line that went eerie, and I got to go, okay, I'm listening to the rest of the music. Right. What does eerie mean, and what key is it in? And so it was fun, and then. Got into a little sound design as well. I've programmed sounds for different companies. I've done sound design for film. And now I produce a lot. That's what I enjoy doing, which I think kind of brings all of my skills and my experience together. So I do a lot of films, usually about 5 films a year. And that we take everything in a shoebox. Somebody's worked in Final Cut Pro on their film for 2 years, and they bring it to me in a shoebox, and they've never heard that there are clicks and bumps and hums and whatever. And I take and clean it all up, add the stuff that needs to be added, put it in 5.1 or in 11.1.
11.1?
11.1 in Atmos, and we take and make it work. That's do the mix, and then I'm still writing songs. I write songs every week. Yeah. Sometimes three in a day, and still writing like crazy. And this year we started Synth Plex. I have a partner, Mike Learmouth, and we started Synth Plex. Craig Anderton spoke there, and Roy Elkins spoke there, and we had 2,500 people in our first year, and it was just a tremendous success. And we just signed the contract on Thursday for next year.
That's amazing. When is it? When and where?
It's March 26th through the 29th in 2020 in Burbank, California, at the Marriott Convention Center in Burbank.
All right, so
right at the airport. So Craig literally got off the plane and he walked from where they dropped his bag 1/2 block to the hotel.
That's amazing. That's amazing. So if you were a synth head, get to that convention.
Get to California.
Not just synth heads.
No.
I'm sorry.
It's okay. We have talking on neighboring rights and publishing, marketing your music. instrument manufacturing, people talking about all different kinds of instruments and composition. We had Michael Abels, who won an Academy Award on his first film out for Get Out. Jordan Peele was there. J.J. Abrams was there. We had Robbie Stambler, who just did all the Eurorack sound design for J.J. Abrams' new Star Wars movie. Songwriters, it's not just synth heads, but it is electronic music focused. Now, to me, if you're a guitar player and you play into a DAW, you're an electronic musician.
That is a good point. That is a very salient point. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we cover all those people.
Okay. Good to know. All right. Well, I will be checking that out. So I think it's an understatement for me to say that, since the time that you got into the music industry up until now, things have changed a little bit.
Oh, huge.
Just a little bit, right?
Huge.
I was wondering if maybe you can talk to some of the things that stick out in your mind of maybe things that are easier to do now and harder to do now versus when you initially got into the business.
Okay, so, I was born into the business. My parents had a music store. So I was literally born into a household that had 7 music studios in the basement.
Wow.
Had a band room on the back.
So this was your destiny.
I have actually tried at different phases of my life to move more toward business, and I'm miserable. I have to do music. I have to do music, and the music that I have to do has to be creating things, not just pushing the beans around to go, okay, we can build this, we can make that, we can, produce this, and you go over there and do the work. I have to be in there getting my hands dirty every day. Sure. And, or my ears dirty. So in that time, when I was 10 and the Beatles hit, there was a band on every corner, right? And everybody wanted to play. Everybody, for whatever reasons, some people played because they loved playing. Some people played because they got chicks. Some people played because they thought they were going to make a lot of money. And I run into all those different artists still today.
Yeah, I don't think that's gone away.
But everybody played. And where I grew up in Iowa, the importance of playing a musical instrument was huge. And there were still pianos in households. Real pianos. Yeah. Everybody had a musical instrument in the house. Parents realized the value of connecting the left brain and the right brain for math purposes and having a well-rounded personality and being able to actually perform in front of somebody. That whole experience that you get as a child, that a lot of people don't have. They go, oh, I could never stand up in front of my group of cohorts and speak on something. And if you have that musical training as a child, I sound like I'm selling music lessons. But which I did at one point. I sold music lessons and I gave them when I was a kid. But that child has an experience in their life that will pay off. They're comfortable in their own skin in front of people. So that a lot of that has gone away.
Well, not to veer off into a rabbit hole, but why do you think that is? Why do you think there's less instruments in households nowadays, or at least less emphasis?
The expense, a lot, and the difficulty. People tend to move a lot more now. So if you've got a piano and you're moving that piano,
right.
And you're tuning that piano, what they don't realize is that you can go get a great Casio or Yamaha or Roland electronic piano that plays similar to a grand piano, where you're going to get the physical response of playing a grand, and it won't cost you that much. It won't cost you. You don't have to pay for tuning. At least it ought to be there so that a child can take. No kid ever wants to practice. No kid ever wants to.
I certainly didn't.
Yeah. So, but the parent, no kid really wants to do homework. You the job as the parent is to go, oh, here, let's make this fun for you. make it so that we're doing this together. And that's what I did with I have 4 children, and my kids, we took them to a place called Piano Play, where from 2 years old on, they actually had mom or dad sitting in the room with them, playing the parts with other people. And it was just a great experience. And my kids all have those personalities where when they get in front of people to perform, they actually go up. That kind of Reba McEntire, where dress rehearsal is 110%, and the rundown sound check on the stage is 125, and she gets in front of the people, it's 150%, and you just go, those performers that feel that kind of love. It has to do with feeling the love back from the people. We give them something and they give us something in return. That's the whole deal. It sounds manipulative, but it's just the fact of the universe. If I give you great music that makes you feel good and enhances your life, you might give me $1 back.
Yeah.
End of story. So everything beyond that is just mechanics.
Gotcha. So if somebody came up to you and they said, I want to live the Michael Boddicker life. I'm
Please, no, don't do it. Don't do it. Run.
They said, okay, I'm ready to sell my house, to live in my car. I want to go to Hollywood and produce for films, and I want to be, playing on these. I want to be a session player. I want to do blah 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 blah. In today's age,
yeah.
What advice? What's your reaction? What advice other than no? What advice would you give?
You said
them?
to live Michael Bodicker's life. I said
okay,
no.
Okay.
Not to the other.
Right.
Well, you don't sell your house, live in your car, and go produce films in Hollywood.
I suppose that maybe I'm thinking more the band side of things. Go on tour, but more to your specialty of producing and doing stuff like that.
Well, that's something you build up over a long time. You build relationships, you get a reputation, you get known as somebody who comes through no matter what. I had this experience last week where I had somebody who had a 100-year birthday. Happens to be a songwriter friend of mine who was writing great songs. He was arranging for Glenn Miller when he was 17.
Wow.
He wrote songs in the 30s and 40s and wrote advertising, and it's just a great songwriter.
Yeah.
And ends up he's just my neighbor, but he turned 100. So I've known he was going to turn 100 for a while and that he was going to live to make it. And I was over there, I'd go over and bring him lunch every now and then, and I'd go through his piano bench, and I found all this music that had his name on it. And so I collected his music, and I put it all together. I made copies of it. I hired a piano player, songwriter, singer, and he sat with me, and he played through the songs while I recorded and said, hey, what about this? There's no chord changes here, but I think that this, and he filled in a lot of blanks as well. And then we hired a great band. The guys who are Burt Bacharach, Sergio Mendes, Herb Alpert's musicians to come in and play, and 2 great singers. And so that's just a setup for this one time at 10:30 when everybody's going to show up. Well, somebody in the crew had eaten something bad the night before.
Oh.
And they showed up for a 10:30 start that they were supposed to be there at 9:30 for at 10:30. Now, in my reputation, that's absolutely unacceptable. I have played sessions for 10 hours on a film of a friend of mine who needed to get his film done. I had pneumonia. I'm coughing up blood, and I am playing the session. I've had 104 temperature, showed up on time, played my session, then went to the doctor. That reputation of the show must go on is sometimes lost today. People are so self-centered that they don't go, oh, what's on the other side of this? This guy who showed up late, was like, oh, I thank you, I knew you'd understand because of health matters and family, it always comes first. when you're involved in show business, it doesn't always come first. I can't tell you how many times I've seen people go, oh, but they broke their arm? Is somebody taking them to the hospital? Okay, thank you. I'll be done in a couple hours. Have to hang up the phone and go back because you're on a stage where it's costing $15,000, $20,000 an hour. And if you lose 5 minutes of that time, it's very expensive for the production company.
Yeah.
Does that mean it has to be completely without heart? No, it doesn't. Have I walked onto sessions where, I had something where I had a child custody matter and my producer, who I worked with for 6 months on a project, said, Michael, from what you just told me, you should be at the courthouse today. I've got other things I can do in the studio. You go to the courthouse. And people have done stuff like that for me, but generally the attitude of the show must go on. The curtain comes up at 7 o'clock. Doesn't matter if you ate something bad the day before. Yeah. You got to be on the stage at 7 o'clock doing your job, not going, oh, I'm sorry, I'm sick. No, sucking it up and doing your job. What sometimes some of my friends in the financial area call putting on your big girl and your big boy panties and doing your job, and a lot of that is lost. People don't get that today, They even do it in commercials where they kind of make musicians out to be flakes, or allow, this is a good decision. Allowing my son to have his band rehearse in the basement, that's a bad decision.
Right,
no, that's a good decision.
Yeah.
That's helping your child in life.
Yeah.
Particularly if that's leading to better experiences about making money, being able to stand up in front of people and present. And again, like I said, connect left and right brain.
Yeah.
For math and higher level thinking, absolutely essential. If you look at, Albert Einstein, apparently wasn't a great violinist, but he was a violinist and he wrote music.
Yeah.
And he said that if he wasn't a physicist, he'd be a musician. A lot of smart people, have benefited from music in their lives.
Well, if that isn't a stamp of approval for the musician lifestyle, I don't know what else. Next time your parents complain, just be like, hey, Albert Einstein said he was going to be a musician.
So for people who want to do it, I would say that a lot of what I see missing today, in kids that come out of, these universities where they train engineers, train musicians, whatever. Musicians training usually goes on longer. The kids that I try to employ that are having to put in their 100 hours, a lot of what's missing is basic salesmanship training.
Interesting.
I would say that in life, working in a music store, being able to interface with people, understand the concept of I'm not trying to sell you something that you don't need or something that's not good for you or something that I don't believe in because I need to sell it. I'm trying to enhance your life and make it better with this product. If I believe that product is good for you, all I have to do is kind of be the liaison between the two.
Yeah.
Right? And so there's basic things. There's Napoleon Hill, there's Andrew Carnegie, there's Norman Vincent Peale. There are basic tools with salesmanship that a lot of people don't get. Like in the middle of a playback, you don't go, oh! and stretch while an artist is trying to listen to their vocal.
Right.
You just don't do it.
Right.
You don't develop nervous tics like going in a sound studio where people are trying to listen to every noise, every jot and tittle, every single crackle. They're trying to listen to that, and you got somebody who's just clearing their throat or doing something in the back, or I've even had people that just pick up, notes, little stick, Post-it notes, and are nervously kind of putting it in a sound studio. And you just go, guys, come on, where's the basic? The basic, this is how I behave. People who, as simple as wear a very nice pair of leather shoes that when they walk in the studio go clomp, 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 clomp. Well, the first rules is you wear tennis shoes. Everybody wears soft bottom shoes. You know, nobody in the studio is wearing hard leather shoes with hard leather heels. You don't do it because of the noise factor. The other part is showing up early. You know, you have to be careful. If now we're moving to where it's like, it used to be when I was here, it was 99% in professional studios. Now it's 99% in people's homes.
Sure.
So you have to be careful to whether you're going to show up at, you don't want to show up at somebody's house at 9:30 for a 10 o'clock session unless they're expecting you at 9:30.
They might be in the shower or something.
Yeah, exactly. and I can't tell you how many times I've been caught with that. Well, I'll see you at 10 o'clock and somebody shows up. I've had people show up at 7 a.m. for a 10 o'clock session.
Oh, man.
I just want to sit around and see what happens. Well, first happens is I get out of bed. You know,
gotta eat my Wheaties, and then we'll, you know.
But you know, you gotta show up. There used to be a saying when I was playing sessions that if you weren't there at 20 till, the contractor got nervous. If you weren't there at 10 till, they were calling another musician to take your place. And if you weren't there at 10 o'clock, you would never work for them again. Right? Period.
Yeah.
And I can't tell you how many fantastic musicians that I knew that when that whole drug era swept through, you know, where that cocaine, the devastating cocaine era that was there for about 8-10 years, that people started missing downbeats, and they were just done. They were done. Never worked, never got called back. You know, little things, whatever, but they're at the top of their game, and all of a sudden their reputation fell to somebody that could not be counted on. And you want to be somebody who can be counted on. Not just to show up on time, but that's people don't, it's music business. Music business. Put in your billing on time, not a month after the project. All the books have been closed. Nobody can remember what happened. You know, they've already done 3 projects since then. They can't go back and revisit it. You turn in your bill on the spot. You turn in your bill within 24 hours, always, and you make it clear. You don't put in 3 hours. You put, I'm an engineer. I showed up at 10 a.m., working till 1 o'clock. Here's the name of the project. Here, you know, here's what was done on the project, blah, 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 and you turn it in. And I have people still today that continually try to save their billing like it's a piggy bank. So they'll go by working for me for 6 weeks, and then they'll turn in a bill at the end, instead of every day or every week at least turning in their invoices so they can get paid. And then all of a sudden, as a person who pays out, you get, oh my goodness, $25,000 in 6 weeks. You know, if it's in $5,000 chunks, it's a lot easier to swallow.
Right.
So those are little things. That's business part, music business. You show up, and then, of course, on top of that, you have to be able to play your ass off. you have to have practice. Your instrument has to be together.
Right.
Your cabling, all that stuff has to be together. You have to have, you know, thought.
Yeah.
You have to have changed your guitar strings so you sound crisp and pretty.
But it sounds like, you know, all of that seems to be, at least in the business side of things, secondary. If you can't show up on time, doesn't matter how good you play, right?
In most aspects.
Potentially.
If you're Carlos Santana and you're paying the bill, you know, that's a whole different deal.
Yeah.
If you're Lionel Richie and you're paying the bill, doesn't matter. You know, it's frustrating to the people that are over here. Used to be in the very early days working with Stevie Wonder, he would think it would be funny. He'd call us from Georgia and say, I'll be there in an hour. and he would be there at the end of the day. And then, you know, and we'd be sitting there waiting. We'd play music together. We'd talk. We'd hang out. We'd, you know, make sure everything was working in the studio. But it was frustrating on our part.
Sure.
And it was frustrating on Stevie's part when we expected to be paid. Well, I wasn't there. Well, yeah, but you hired us for the day. You know, and that's not because Stevie got that. There was a phase in that career, and that got corrected. You know, when all of a sudden, instead of all the money going to a record company, it actually started going to Stevie Wonder, and he was able to change the way he did business, then that was better. It got better, and Steve is just great. I still consider Stevie a friend. In fact, we were talking about, the Marconi. He's playing the Marconi a lot now. We were talking about how can we go in and laser cut the frets and MIDI the thing so that he can, unfortunately, we're doing that at friends' funerals now. But it's a wonderful thing to see people grow and learn and change. You got to have control of your money, or it's going to get in the way of your ability to function. You got to have money to buy guitar strings. You got to have money to experiment. You got to have money so that you can come in and be clear-minded instead of going, oh crap, I'm supposed to be paying my phone bill. Pay your phone bill a week early, Just don't let it get in the way of your life. There's these, what I call adult aspects. Sometimes I hate being an adult, but I am an adult and I have to deal with these things. I have to face these people and these situations and deal with them with love in a way that benefits them and benefits me. So we're talking about what for these kids can be done. I mean, another thing that has to be done that is missing, as far as I can see, used to be in the old days that we'd go and we'd play 9 hours, 12 hours, 15 hours of sessions a day. Now in that session, you might only, really play music in a 3-hour period for 7 minutes or 15 minutes, maybe it'd be more. But that means that you have to practice in addition to that. Now, what's happened, as I've seen with orchestral musicians, is as those sessions have gone away and it's more in the box, that those musicians are still wanting to play sessions, but they're not disciplining themselves to practice in their downtime. So my friend Ralph Grierson, who was the top piano player in the history of Los Angeles recorded film music, and he would play 2 or 3 sessions a day, so 6 hours or 9 hours a day, and he would still go home and he would practice 3 hours every day, every day, 7 days a week. And he said, if I miss one day, I can tell it in my playing. He'd say, if I miss 2 days, the guy who hires me can tell it in my playing. If I miss 3 days, the people who are listening hear it.
Wow.
So, but he played, and you listen to those piano parts, and they're stellar.
Yeah.
And it's down to the simple things of recording, like, okay, that pedal is not being released. He's aware how soft it is, and he's got such control over it, so it doesn't thump on the recording.
Right.
And Randy Newman, who's a phenomenal piano player, would then go, here, Ralph, play my parts. That kind of discipline to practice, to even if it's just like I've been guilty of not practicing as much as I can, and then I have a gig and I have to quickly get up to speed. There are ways to get physical exercises in that let you get your muscles back, right? And to have something like that in your pocket so that you're and this happens to us all the time. We get to go up on stage at 4 o'clock and do a quick sound check. We've traveled all day. We're up on stage at 4 o'clock. We do a sound check. We're sitting in an ice cold green room waiting, and then we walk out on stage. Our hands are frozen, and we have to give the performance of our lives.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Well, there are exercises you can do to warm up your hands and keep your hands warm, and being aware of it, and do the stretching, run your hands under warm water, do all there's the Artie Kane, there's the Grierson, there's the modified Grierson, and that you do, after you've been sitting in an ice cold room for a while, and as a musician, you just develop these. Techniques that will help you. Yeah. So I learned them from a lot of guys sitting next to him in the studio. Sitting next to guys in the studio is doesn't happen so much these days.
Sure.
If I had anything to impart to a young musician,
Mm-hmm.
it would be get in a band. Even if it's just guys who sit there and read through the Beatles songbook. You play your guitar great, you play great jazz guitar. Get in a band that can get together and sit down regularly and play together. Even if it's just in your living room, even if it's playing on church on Sunday morning, whatever the heck it is, get together
Just do
and
it.
play so
do
that you're with other real musicians, and that give and take is what's missing a lot in the box these days.
Well, Michael, thank you so much. I feel like I could talk to you and hear you talk all day. So much wisdom,
It'd be
so
my
much
pleasure.
knowledge. Thank you so much.
We'll do it again.
Absolutely.
Ty,
Thank you so much for
thank
sitting
you,
down
man.
with me.
All right.
If you want to see the entire interview, and I mean, like, we'll grab I should grab this guy. We should do like a 24-hour, God, I could listen to him talk all day. Check it out. The whole interview will be up at patreon.com/Lords of the Trident. Just pledge $1 and you'll get not only him, but everybody else that we're going to be interviewing this entire weekend. And of course, check out Between the Waves Madison, BTWMadison.com. Thanks again so much.
Pleasure,
It was an
Ty.
absolute honor.
You're good.